Government Employees Pension Fund holds a conference on responsible investment policy tomorrow, which is expected to have a lasting benefit for South African business. The GEPF is the largest pension fund administrator in Africa, one of the 10 largest in the world. It has over 1 million contributing members and at last count had more than 778 billion rand of assets under management. Joining me with more is Prabir Badal. He's Deputy Chairperson of the GEPF Board. Prabir, thanks for coming in this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And Prabir, what is the fund's responsible investment policy and how's that going to be refined at tomorrow's conference, do you think?
In 2007, the GEPF signed a United Nations Declaration on the Principles of Responsible Investing. Over the last few years, post the signature, we've been involved in extensive research and consultation with strategically minded people in the investment terrain to seek advice on how we can roll this out in South Africa, or in the context of South Africa and looking forward. The day has come where we'll be launching our policy on the 25th of March 2010. Part of the policy includes our commitment towards ensuring that we have sound environmental, socially responsible and sound governance principles applied when we actually enter into an investment portfolio. So essentially what we'll be launching tomorrow is the broader policy and the strategy around that. The strategy would also speak to the implementation phase, to a certain extent how we exercise our rights as shareholders. We've developed policy and the procedures around that. Obviously knowing that the PIC is our asset manager of a special circumstance and of a strategic nature. They will be implementing the active share ownership on our behalf.
Of course, we know, so as you said, the PIC is the asset manager. It's also outsourced to some of our large asset managers in South Africa as well. Will they all be buying into this awareness policy of yours?
Well, Steve, it's not going to be business as usual anymore. I think, as you rightfully indicate, our asset base is 778 billion rand. It's probably 11 times larger than the second largest pension fund in this retirement fund in this country. So that expresses the power that we actually have in the investment terrain. We own almost every share on the stock exchange, if not every share on the stock exchange. So and significant amounts at that. So
are there some shares though that you'd rather let go if you do want to stick to these new principles of governance and environment? I mean, are there shares that you would tend to stay away from?
Well, obviously it would require research, monitoring and evaluation. I think it's our view is a long-term view. And what we're saying is that we're allowing the initial phase for companies to readjust and start to adjust towards focusing on ESG issues in a more comprehensive and more complying manner. Well, down the line, you'll never know. Those that don't actually comply with our investment strategy and our investment vision, we may disinvest, yeah.
Prabir, at what point are investment returns sacrificed for responsible investing? Because, of course, responsible investing may not always bring the best returns for investors.
Well, our view is that we are a long-term investor. And given and our analysis of the current investment environment is that we're focusing on a lot of short-term returns. And with the view of, in looking at the long-term view, what we're saying is that if you start to consider ESG issues, environmentally sensitive issues, socially acceptable issues, sound governance principles with regards to management, etc. of a company, I think that will give us more value add on the long term, given the fact that we know where we're coming from. If you look at the recession, You look at the collapse of Enron's, Parmalat, you look at Fidentia, you look at Sambo, you look at our social decay in the country over the last 15 to 20 years around housing, affordable housing, where we're looking at initiatives around the gap market, you're looking at energy efficiency, you're looking at climate change, you're looking at water supply management and the efficiencies around that. I think those in the long term would add value, because the moment what we find is that currently companies are sacrificing those broader ESG issues in chasing towards chasing profits, and we think that that would not be sustainable. Our vision is long term. We match our assets against our liabilities. You've indicated earlier that we have in excess of 1 million contributing members. We have almost 350,000 pensioners that we need to look after. So we need that long-term view. We are a pension fund of public servants, and the public service is here to stay. You know, it is unlikely that it will collapse in the near future.
Because there have been suggestions from some parts of government that pension fund money should be used to help develop South Africa's infrastructure. Is that desirable? Do we want to use pension fund money to develop infrastructure?
Well, part of our strategy, if you look at it, has always been to look at infrastructure development. We've invested a billion rand, 250 billion US dollars in the Pan-African Infrastructure Development Fund. Obviously, we can't allow society to decay in the way it has done over the last few years, and not consider the fact that we have a large amount of investable money that is available, and that could assist in a long way towards addressing some of our infrastructure needs.
What returns, though, do your members get from that?
But obviously we would require a return, and I'm sure that when you borrow money from a bank, and as we've seen over the last few weeks, where Eskom had gone out to procure some funds from the World Bank, obviously that money would require a return. There is a cost of capital plus a reasonable return. We will decide, I mean, what a reasonable return is, but it must be inflation, obviously, so that you're able to then render reciprocate the return to your member as well.
I'm afraid